So the question we really need to ask ourselves is, how can we help? This is a human problem. These are real people. So you can't just say, well, this is all black people stuff. In small towns and rural communities across Michigan, who live there? They look like they're white. Imagine that. Right now, whilst you and I are sitting here and we have the comfort of being in a warm place, right? Surrounded by things that we treasure and hold dear, and we have the luxury of having access to the internet, there are children tonight who do not know where they will sleep. There are children tonight whose parents can't get a job. First of all, you need to live somewhere to get a job. A few weeks ago, back in the summer, something was brought to my attention, and they told me to call someone. And I was wondering why they gave her my number, and for about 2 months I couldn't hear from her. And finally when I caught up with her, I discovered that the reason she had not called was she found herself homeless. She lost her job, and then she couldn't pay her apartment. Today, it's not like when our parents were growing up and our grandparents. So you go to a job and you work 8 hours per day and you work 40 hours per week. So you could actually take care of your living expenses. Today, you go and work 5 or 6 hours per day for maybe 20 hours per week. At minimum wage or a little more, you cannot sustain life. These are the contributing factors. Sometimes it's not that people don't have a job. They don't work enough hours because employers today refer to it as at will. I can fire you anytime. I don't need to have you working 40 hours per week, because the bottom line is people want to make more money. So they hire people. When you hear these politicians talking about jobs, 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 you need to ask yourself, well, why are there so many homeless people if there are jobs available? We've never before seen these many homeless people. Why? Because there are no jobs. These are jobs that you go to work, people go to work, and they leave within 4 or 5 hours at $9 an hour. How are you going to pay rent? Rent is not $200 a month. Rent is not $450 per month. Rent is $700-800 per month. How are you going to make it if you're working 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week? Those are the contributing factors. So we need to stop saying that people need to feel more responsible. They are going out and trying to get the job, but the jobs do not pay them enough for them to live. Are you getting it? So politicians know this is happening, but they're protecting their own special interest. And what do they say? Jobs, 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 jobs. Everywhere you go, you see a sign that says no hiring. Go in there and apply. They're going to tell you they're only giving you 10, 15, 20 hours per week at $9 an hour. How are you going to pay rent? How can you pay light and keep the heat on? How are you going to have a car? Do you see what I'm saying? So sure, they go down to the local grocery store. They pay you $10 an hour. Are you working 40 hours per week? No. It's at will employment. Sometimes they keep you for 90 days and then fire people at the end of the 90 days to make sure they don't qualify for benefits if they give them 30 hours a week. This is the reality. And even for people who graduate college, even for people with a 4-year degree, that's why so many people today live with their parents, because they're not making enough to go pay rent. These are the facts. I know you don't like it. I know it doesn't coincide with what you think the reality is, because you're comfortable. You're financially secure and comfortable. So you think I did it so people can't do it. Look at the facts. The facts are people are working at jobs where they're not even making. My brother is retired Navy. He retired. You know how much he gets paid for after 23 years in the military? $14 an hour. He does it for exercise and to pay, buy gas. Right? I kid you not. He asked the question, how are people going to pay a living? If he hadn't been in the military, he wouldn't have his house. He's like, how are people living off this stuff and have family and children to raise at $14 an hour? At 30 hours a week, by the way. It's not 40. Right? I think it's 28 to 30 hours per week. And his wife, who never served in the military, she does the same thing. He says the money she earns is a joke. He can do her hair and do her nails. If she were to live on her own, he said she couldn't make it. This is the reality. Reality bites, and it's not pleasant. I don't like it any more than you do. It's uncomfortable because then I have to confront the feeling that some of us are really not nice human beings, that we don't care about our fellow man. All we care about is we can get up and we can go buy our lattes and we can live as much as we want, and you don't think about someone else. Otherwise, you would say, we got to do something about poverty. We have no moral code. And you're talking about people who are wealthy, but with wealth comes responsibility. It's equal privilege and responsibility, but nobody wants to hear that part. Give. Like this year, give. It's necessary because people are hurting. And if you don't give, no one else, you're helping someone else. My friends, it could have been me. If I didn't have my mother at the time, this was maybe 8 years ago. If I didn't have my mother, what would have happened to me? And I had children. What would have happened? Think about that. According to federal law, homelessness for students is defined as not having regular and adequate nighttime residence. It is so easy for this to happen. And it happens over and over and over again. At this point, knowing the reasons why, but what is the contributing factor? The underlying root cause is poverty. And poverty, because most of us say, well, people don't want to go to work. That might be true of a small group of people. But the real reason is when they do go to work, they work through 2 and 3 jobs. When they do go to work, they perform 3 different tasks and get paid for 1. When they do go to work, like the people who work on the Amazon assembly line, they stand for 15 hours and can't even pee. Amazon drivers are on a timeline. They can't even stop to take a pee break or to eat, to make it, because they have these pressure to perform, so it's the incentive to make money. Otherwise, they can't live. People have bills to pay. People have to pay their rent to live. They have to pay for transportation so they can get to and from work. They have to buy food and clothes for themselves and their children. And they're unable to do so at the wages that people are earning today. It is what it is. You and I probably didn't contribute to it because we don't affect or impact public policy. But here we are nonetheless. And it is a reality. And it's uncomfortable. But it is. I want to read you some statistics before I go. 70% of homeless students are located outside of Southeast Michigan. For this exercise, I only examined Michigan. Here are the districts with the highest rates of low-income student homelessness. Northport Public Schools, that's somewhere else, that's 54%. Suttons Bay, these are all mid-Michigan, northern Michigan. Again, these are places where a lot of white students live. Carson City Crystal Schools, Glen Lake Community Schools. Of those schools, what are the rates of homeless rates in Metro Detroit? Here are some numbers from Metro Detroit school districts. Ypsilanti Public Schools, 9%. Dundee Public Schools, 6%. Taylor Public Schools, 4%. Garden City 2%, Van Dyke, Oak Park 4%, Southfield 3%, Mount Clemens 3, River Rouge 2, Farmington 2, Romulus 3, and Huron School District. Does that make any of us feel good? Does not. Not when 490,000 school children are low income, because we're not earning enough. That's the problem. We're not earning enough. And people will tell you there are jobs available. How much are you paying for how many hours per week? You're going to pay people $10 an hour for 20 hours per week? How can they live off that? And the rate of taxation is so high that by the time you get paid $200, you take home $150. So how are you going to live? Rent is not $100 a month. I can guarantee you of that. Right? Think about that. It's a problem. Now that you see the other side of it. The other side of it is such that it's not looking good. It doesn't look pretty at all. It's a problem, my friends. A lot of these years ago, like I told you, I was affiliated with a nonprofit who specializes in treating students with mental health issues. Initially, they started out treating adults. Then it became students, right? And it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening, right? It was eye-opening. The rate, that's when we first it became evident that there was something amiss. But I think most of us were looking at it like, we were saying it was drug use, mental health issues, when the underlying root cause was poverty. We never looked at it. We didn't look at it from that perspective. We just said because of drug use. What we find is that drug use and mental health issues are factors. But the underlying root cause was poverty. We never looked at that. And now we're seeing it. So this is why I say to some of us, you might feel like you're big balling, yeah? Because you are go look at your finances. Yeah? All of us, go look at our finances. Make sure that you have something. Because frankly, the way it is going, it's just being whittled away by taxes. We're paying so much taxes. It's being whittled away. And cost of living is so high. I read a report recently. Do you know the rate of inflation has escalated since 1973? But wages and salaries have not kept pace with inflation. If that were the case, the average starting rate of a salaried position would have been $51,000. Instead, it's still $27,000 like it was in 1973. Inflation is astronomical. Have you been to the grocery store lately? They've hiked the prices up because of Thanksgiving, right? So you're paying more for the same things. Just in case you go up to you get sticker shock. So you go up to the cash register and you're like, whoa, I buy the same stuff that I've been buying for the last 3 months. But why is it costing me $25, $30 more? They hike the prices. Who hikes the prices? The purveyor of goods and services. Those are wealthy, extremely wealthy people who are wealthy already. And they're still making you pay more for stuff that you need. Do you see where I'm going, what I'm talking about? Because most of us just use your credit card and you don't even realize how much it's adding up. And you think we all want to feel better about ourselves and feel that we are better than we think we are, right? And this can never happen to me. But then when you get home, you're really sitting in the car like, are you kidding me? Did I just really spend that on groceries? Like, this is costing me $40, $50 more than it did the last time, right? I kid you not. Because we don't, we want to feel like we're in control. We really aren't. Right? So the people who are making a lot of money continue to make more money. right? Because they're in charge. They control. We don't. So you who are being taxed at 25 and 28%, you're paying out more for taxes and you're paying out more for goods and services. How are you going to have anything to save? Think about that. And then you have pundits on TV who are paid a lot of money to come and tell you how you can save. And you're sitting there like, so I must be really dumb. And you start wondering until you really start looking at it. For the first time, people have 2 and 3 jobs. We need to ask ourselves why. People have 2 and 3 jobs all across the board. People with advanced degrees have 2 and 3 jobs. So if you're starting out now, let's say you had started some years ago, at least you might have a leg up on the ladder because you probably have a house already, right? But if you're just starting out now, you are starting off with all this stuff prevailing against you. And in an uncertain job market, because there are no guarantees anymore. You remember once upon a time you went to work and you could be confident you would have this job in a year or 2 years, so you could plan. That does not exist anymore. You don't even know if you'll have it after 90 days. They keep thrusting people around because they don't want to pay benefits according to the law. I kid you not, folks. And who owns these corporations? Very wealthy people. And they get away with it. Sucks, right? 36,000 students in Michigan, school children in Michigan, are homeless. You still think we shouldn't think about that? My goodness. My goodness. And it is impacting small towns, and rural communities are practically wiped out. Poverty has wiped out rural communities and small towns. It's like a wasteland. I went to Ohio about a month ago. I was driving through the cornfields, literally. The average age in that group was 55, the average age of persons. All the young people had to leave. They couldn't find jobs. They had to leave. Right? And this is why politicians give us sound bites, because they don't want you to think about this. Because if you really sit down and think about this, you really would think about it. And you really would say, wait a minute, this is what I'd like you to focus on. But they don't want us to think about it. They give us sound bites. Right? And then we don't think. And then you go to bed and you sit down and think. I am telling you, gratitude is going to help, but money helps too. Right? I didn't realize how bad homelessness was until I really sat down and listened to people. There's so many contributing factors. It's mind-blowing. Right? So, I've ended my discourse on that. I'd like us all to breathe. We need a cleansing. So do me a favor, everyone. Take a deep breath. It's a heavy subject. Take a deep breath. Focus on solutions. We need to advocate for people who are homeless. They can't help themselves. We need to ask politicians to change their policy. We have to influence them. You have to humanize the approach. When you say it, they will look at you. The homeless person comes and stands before them. The homeless person doesn't get the opportunity to come near them, but you do. Right? So when you stand before them, you bring the cause to them. They will listen to you if you Facebook them. Don't message them on Facebook. Go to their Facebook page and tell them. Go to their Twitter page and tell them. They're going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to the homeless person, because the homeless person is meaningless. Probably won't even vote because they're not stable enough to have identification so they can go vote. But they'll listen to you. Right? We all are our brother's keeper, for real. We all are our children's keepers. Yes. Because when you and I get old and cranky, who is going to come take care of us? Are they going to have compassion? No, they're going to be like, when I was homeless, where were you? Did you help? People like you didn't help. Right? Think about that, right? So breathe and download and subscribe to my podcast. All right. So make sure that you go to harrietkimmick.com and theexodusfoundation.com, where you'll find more resources on the subjects that we talk about. Of course, make sure you download and subscribe to our podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, or wherever your favorite podcast platform is. Thank you so much for being a part of my show today, for being a part of our experience. We're grateful for your contributions at theexodusfoundation.com. And you can also support us through if you buy stuff on Amazon. I'll post the link. So when you shop this year, buy stuff through Amazon, buy it through us, and we'll be able, whatever you spend, Amazon gives us something back so that we can continue to help those who are voiceless and hopeless. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. You're giving me stuff to think about. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're making me think. And you're giving me some fire, because today I have a meeting with the Homeless Coalition. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some of this stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Be blessed, everybody.